Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about the 7 hidden costs of home ownership. So let's jump right into it. So when discussing a topic like the American dream of home ownership, everyone seems to run to all of the benefits from the standpoint of having a fixed mortgage payment, the tax benefits, and maybe even the long-term appreciation of that property. So I thought, why not start out this theme by sharing the 7 hidden costs to purchasing a home so that you can walk into this purchase eyes wide open. Now, I want to preface this with the fact that I still believe that homeownership is an important step for most people. Now, although you have the Grant Cardones of the world who rent the place they want to live due to not considering a home as an investment, nor that investment being highly liquid. Or you may have the Robert Kiyosaki's showing people how a home is a liability and not an asset. Now, there are still a lot of reasons to own your own home over the long haul. Now, when purchasing a home, though, you just need to be prepared. You need to be prepared with cash, patience, and eyes wide open to step into that large purchase. Now, we're going to cover the 7 hidden costs and why you should wait to buy your own home, one of which, of course, that you are not collecting rents on, one that you are actually living in, until you have factored in the estimated costs for these specific areas. So let's take a look at these. So the first one has to do with down payment. The second one has to do with closing costs. The third one has to do with out-of-pocket repairs on that property. The fourth one looks at your startup costs related to utilities, insurance, an HOA fee or dues, as well as taxes and any other subscriptions you may need. The fifth one looks at outfitting your home in order for it to be move-in ready. The sixth component looks at renovations, updates, or maybe even some landscaping that you need to do on that property. And the seventh component has to do with furnishing that property. Now, looking at the first one, the down payment. Looking at buying a house always costs more than you would anticipate. People typically overestimate how much they will use certain must-haves that they have on their list for buying a home, and then they underestimate the impact of those must-haves on the sticker price of that home that results in the mortgage, the cost to buy and maintain that home. So a down payment is a perfect example of this. And I say that because as you increase your budget on the home that you plan to purchase, you will have a fixed 3.5%, maybe 5%, maybe 10% or more that you put down on that property. Now, your down payment will increase based on the price of the home that you purchase. So there are a lot of people who get a second mortgage to cover their down payment, borrow from a family member, or use some other creative method in order to get that down payment money, especially being that it's typically a larger amount. So for example, if a family has a household income of, let's say, $60,000, and they purchase a home that they can qualify for of, let's say, $215,000 on an FHA loan, there will be a down payment of $7,525 that they will need to have ready to go at closing based on 3.5% down. Now, next component comes down to closing costs. Closing costs are difficult to estimate because of funding the escrow, the payouts paid by the seller for the broker's fees, the various inspections, the title policy, the filing of the deed, and all the fees, so on and so forth. Now, your lender will typically provide this to you and these estimates to you prior to closing, but oftentimes not very far in advance. So you want to be able to have those estimates, going into the purchase of a home. So if you have a mortgage broker, you may consider having them run some preliminary estimates so that you can factor in any out-of-pocket expenses prior to making an offer on the property that you find. Now, when making an offer in a typical environment, people write in who is paying for what. Now, the buyer would expect satisfactory inspections and an appraisal that's at or above what they have negotiated as the purchase price. Now, the next component looks at the out-of-pocket repairs. Now, based on having the inspections completed and the findings negotiated into the deal accordingly, there may be unanticipated repairs that the seller will not be willing to cover prior to closing. So you'll want to factor in these repairs and any aspects that either did not show up on the inspection sheet or on the house inspection that you'll need to cover as your responsibility. Now, the next component looks at any startup utilities, any insurance costs, any HOA dues, taxes, subscriptions, things like that. Now, startup costs related to utilities, cable, internet, and subscriptions otherwise can often catch people by surprise. Factoring in what costs will need to be assumed at closing will be especially important in order for you not to be blindsided. Now, there will be prorated aspects that will be on your closing statement in order for you to have the HOA transfer the property to you and the dues accordingly, maybe the insurance premiums or the taxes accordingly. And those will be most likely factored in already. But outfitting your house so that it's move-in ready will be something that you'll need to consider because there's so many smaller items that will need to be set up in order for the home to be livable. Now, this may be, by preference, of course, but maybe something along the lines of touch-ups related to paint, maybe decorating, installing light fixtures. It may be a video doorbell that you need to install, and other miscellaneous items that you don't necessarily think of or realize that you need up until you begin the process of moving in. Now, the next component looks at renovations, updates, landscaping, aspects like that people can easily overlook. Now, people are often so excited about making the home purchase that they don't necessarily think about all the work that would go into bringing the aesthetics up to their standard. Now, the home may be in need of a kitchen or bathroom update or remodel. You may need to install a sprinkler system for the lawn, or it may need new windows. Now, these capital expenditures can add up so quickly, and they need to be watched closely so that the improvements that you actually put into that home do not price yourself out of that specific neighborhood. Now, the final component looks at furniture. Now, furniture can be something that's so easy to overlook, especially when you're looking at upsizing, you're getting a bigger home. Now, depending upon your style, your level of concern over quality, and other components, it can be a very expensive process to buy furniture. Now, factoring in the new living room set, the dining room, table, beds, TVs, and other accessories can add up especially fast. And like I said, especially if you're moving from a smaller home where you didn't have quite as many rooms. Now, looking at these hidden costs, you can probably think of what you left out of consideration when you purchased your existing home, or the aspects that you may need to factor in when purchasing your next home. Now, my call to action is to look at these hidden costs. Depending on how green you are with the home buying purchase process, some of this may be obvious and others may be helpful considerations for you. Now, think about what components you should be saving for if you are anticipating going through the process of purchasing a home. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.